we should yell Mark. We're still here, well, she just wanted to see her face because she was sitting next to her. Me too. I know. I think come all the way out here. It was once we do the
I think that's just a picture of it.
I can switch down.
I'm good. I don't need no room.
Got a wall right next to you. I know.
You need your 6 feet.
Nope. I don't need any room.
Good evening. The Lapeer Community School Board of Education meeting is now called to order. We will begin with a pledge of allegiance. Dr. Novak, would you please lead us to the pledge? And the flag is right here.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Novak. Okay, we will then go into our presenting schools. So I will turn it over to you, Superintendent Laundrie.
Thank you, Madam President. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Mrs. Kelly Bangle, our principal at Turl, and she has some team members here with her as well to present today on Goal 1.1. So Kelly, I hand it over to your capable hands.
Thank you. So we are going to be presenting on building a community of literacy-rich experiences for kids across content areas and across grade levels. So that is what we are presenting on today. And if you know me, I always mess up technology, so I told my ladies to push it out.
Hey!
And
we had it on Google Slides, so this is a PowerPoint, so maybe there might be some formatting things.
Might be some format issues, yeah.
That's okay.
It's okay.
So we're going to teach you how to read tonight, too.
I thought it was just me. We're good.
I know, and you do my eyes.
That's what I was worried about. Everybody seeing that?
I know, I'm due for an upgrade on my glasses.
Great.
Greg came in and sabotaged this presentation to start
Just
some
to get me
business.
back. So, we are providing, we're presenting in Goal 1, which is providing high-quality curriculum for all of our students. Sorry. Just stand there. Okay. So, if you know anything about John Hattie's research, anything over a 0.4 effect size is significant. So we want you to take a look at what happens when you provide high-quality curriculum and multiple exposures to high-quality literacy experiences for kids. It's a 0.71 effect size, which is huge. And so this is exciting, and this is what we're going to be presenting on tonight, is high-quality literacy experiences for kids.
I'm Amber Weidinger. I'm a learning coach at Turl, and so I just wanted to take you through kind of the process that we've been at with literacy instruction being a focus at our building level at the district. Additionally, we've had this process for 2 years of exploring a Pontus and Pinnell ELA resource, and we've really taken that journey of exploring a new curriculum resource, and you might hear us call it F&P. That's kind of our abbreviation, but with Pontus and Pinnell. And we've drawn upon John Hattie's work with the repeated exposures for learning opportunities, but additionally, we've taken and worked off Timothy Shanahan's concepts related to reading and writing reciprocity. The idea that reading and writing are connected, that our independent skills, they're interdependent upon each other. And in reading and writing, you're depending on the same skills, same strategies, same knowledge base that you can apply to both sides. I do apologize because this is not our presentation. This is 5 lines. So I have another slide here. But the slide that I would have shown would be kind of a wheel, and we're going to be talking about specific literacy opportunities that students have exposure to throughout the day. They include Reader's Workshop, which we're going to go into in a minute, Writer's Workshop. We had opportunities with shared reading, interactive writing, interactive read-alouds, word study, book clubs. It's this extensive piece of work of repeated learning opportunities across the day, across content areas. So it's the idea that in isolation, those formats have impact. But it's when we combine them and build upon them, connecting them to each other, that we get to high impact teaching and learning. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Reader's Workshop now. The slides. And Reader's Workshop is a format that we're really familiar with. I think we've been using it for close to 15 years in the district. We do have a new resource with Fontes and Vanel. But it's the idea that students have exposure to explicit mini lessons, explicit instruction related to reading practices and behaviors, that through that explicit instruction, they're going to then take to their own independent reading practices. And the workshop model itself supports students through modeling, through guided practice, and then through independent reading as well. The explicit instruction helps students become readers and have a readerly life. The idea that these mini lessons are modeled, are guided, they give students a scaffolded support in which they're able to take these small nuggets of information that they can then apply to their reading and independent reading skills. And the ultimate goal is that we want them to be successful readers. We want them to take this strategy that we teach them and apply it to any text they encounter. The Reader's Workshop model really does differentiate instruction. It improves student motivation and enhances their reading and writing comprehension. The format that students have to apply their understanding after a mini lesson can look vastly different based on the day you're in the classroom, based on that moment in time compared to 10 minutes later. Teachers have the ability to truly differentiate their instruction based on the needs of the students in the classroom. So you might see things like guided reading, independent reading at individual levels, partnerships where students are going to be exploring concepts in, like this one, a reader's notebook, peer collaboration, one-on-one conferencing with teachers, and really this is a moments, large portions of time where teachers can formally assess students, understand where they're at as readers, apply that understanding to better their instruction, and really grow our students. Oh, sorry, I had one other thing. I wanted to highlight on the reader's notebook, because that's a really integral part of the independent reading practice. And we were reflecting with one of our first grade teachers, Kara Carmack, recently, and I wanted to read what she said related to the reader's notebook. She said, students are building a strong connection between reading and writing in authentic ways by responding to a learning target in the reader's notebook. She uses the writing about reading as a quick formative assessment and also as success criteria and accountability checkpoints for students. Students deepen their individual understanding of a learning target, have ownership in their learning, and they are meaningfully engaged in reading and writing. Overall, she's truly impressed by the understanding that her students have shown.
So Writing Workshop is very much like Reading Workshop. It has mini lessons that are focused on explicit lessons that help children understand and apply their characteristics of effective writing. Teaching children to write and express their ideas clearly and creatively to find the joy in the process has been the teacher's goal, and but it's a pretty complex task. So to grow as writers, children need explicit instruction in the craft, mechanics, and the process of writing, and a choice in what they want to write about, and also plenty of time in order to practice. Writing workshop is just like reading workshop, and it can be used to scaffold students' learning. So we can adjust for the students who might need a little bit more support, but also equally as important, push our students to a higher level of writing. Through writing, children have a voice, an agency, a way to express their ideas. This is a deep source of satisfaction, and why exploring mentor text from Bontis and Hanel. This is a picture of a 5th grade class who decided to expand upon their characters' perspectives, and each student created a fictional character that they all picked. They're all writing like a big, huge classroom book together, and so each one of them is a character from the book. And the book is based on a school setting, so they all came up with their setting, they all came up with a theme that they wanted to do for a book. Each kid is a different character in the book and what kind of role they play. And this is them sitting down with after getting kind of like their ideas and their roles. And they were so engrossed that many students within just a few minutes already had a page written down.
I had something about, so there's a little girl heading towards the back, and she's me in this story. And so she came and interviewed me, and she said, I need to know something that could happen in the school that's really, really bad, but not too bad, that I could write about. And so I gave her some ideas. She's like, no, that's not it. And I was like, so you don't really have any threats of violence, right? No, we wouldn't want to scare anybody in this story. And she just was so into it. It was really cool.
Tell us what you did.
I was going to say, do you want me to tell them what the problem was?
Yeah. So, kids did some graffiti on her garage, and then she came back into school and she'd be on recess for the rest of the year. And I was like, so, never did that. She's like, yeah, this is me. So, no more recess.
Power! No more graffiti either.
Until somebody fessed up to the graffiti.
Yeah, so that they had to solve the problem within their story, and someone had to confess in order to get stuff. Yeah, they were pretty excited about this story. Writing workshop is uniquely structured to help children develop positive attitudes about writing, and really our goal over the last year or two with a new resource is really just kind of exploring it. But we have seen these kids find a joy in writing that they just didn't have before. They're very excited to become readers and authors. Up here is a few examples on the screen of some nonfiction writing from our 4th and 5th grade students. They went through the writing process, begin with research in order to write and engage about a specific animal that they got to choose. And so they made you can see their little books up at the top, and one of them has their little table of contents about giraffes. And they got to not only write, but they were illustrators as well.
I'm Liz Shewitt. I'm also a learning coach at Turtle for Ladies, and this is Jennifer Christian, who did a wonderful job. So we picked this picture to kind of represent our children and our plant theme and how we're fostering this learning environment where kids can thrive. So reading and writing workshop that the ladies covered is kind of like the seed, it's the foundation, and the plants will grow and the children's will carry on. But we really wanted to highlight how the other components and making a literate environment throughout the day through many different avenues is really how they're going to thrive. Shared reading is something that kindergarten, 1st grade are experiencing more of this year through the big books. You can see on the right, the teacher is reading an enlarged version of a text that all kids will have access to because they can see it. They read it together, so they can practice their fluency, they can work on concepts about print. They'll repeat it after the teacher and really work on fluency and expression. But the smaller books I have here in the first picture, it's the same copy, but it's a smaller version. So kids that might not be able to read a certain text level have already heard it from a teacher, they practiced it, and now they can read it in a small group or they can read it independently. And so when this teacher brings out these big books, the smaller books are also available, and it's like they think they won the lottery. So I walk around with these books and they're like, I want that one, I want that one. So it's very cool because I'm seeing kindergartners read 1st grade level texts because of that scaffold that they were provided. Another example of this literacy-rich environment is interactive writing. So similar to shared reading, the students and the teacher co-construct a message together, and so they can decide what it says, how they want to say it, and they're writing the message with the teacher. It's really cool because it's so authentic that you can make it about whatever you want it to be about. The resource gives you about 80 examples, maybe not that many, but you can see through Reader's Workshop when they're learning about nonfiction books, they decided to also create their own nonfiction story. So they can learn how to write words like drinking, like maybe how they add the ing at the end. They can tailor it to their own students. So if she knows that there's a certain skill that they need to work on within writing, she might choose a certain teaching point within that message. So there's a lot of power behind it. And she also has kids writing them on the whiteboard in front of her. So there's a lot of learning happening there. Interactive read-alouds are the traditional read-aloud that you're familiar with. Now we're provided, we counted about 100 to 125 read-alouds that each classroom has access to. So by the end of 5th grade, they've read over 700 books. And that's just the read-aloud alone. So there's a lot of power behind it. They have a lot of deep discussions through these books. It's neat because teachers are also taking pictures of them, and then kids are coming up and talking about them, and oh, remember this one, and this connection is here, and these authors all wrote this series. So it's truly a part of their environment and the conversations that they're having. I was in a 4th and 5th grade classroom because I said, hey, I want to just be a part of your book club. We're presenting about ELA, and the teacher said to me, yeah, we explode ELA. All right, I love it. But she said, you have to come in and see these book clubs because these kids are just so engrossed in it. I went down there and I truly left inspired, and I told her that what these kids are able to do, and she's just floating around the room, and they are asking each other deep questions. They're thinking about the text, they're thinking beyond the text. They're socially engaging, and these are 5th graders, and they are, you know, boy, girl, it doesn't matter. This boy in the red sweatshirt held his finger up and said, I have to add to that. And in 3rd grade, I had a hard time just getting him to talk to me about the book that he was reading. So she's done a lot of scaffolding, and there was a lot of preparation into that, I know, but she said they've come so far. The boy in the blue, his name is Mason, and I said, all right, I think it's her turn now, and he slammed his hand down and said, I'm just so into this. And Jenny Mudge was in the room, and I looked at her, I was like, that's going to be the board presentation. Could not have set that up any better. So like I told her, I really left inspired. That was really, really cool. So all of these facets aren't specific to Fountas and Pinnell, right? You can do this with any resource, but because of this resource, we've been given just a plethora of new information and resources to use.
And one last component is phonics and word study, and the idea that phonics and word study is an integral part of our literacy instruction. It's something that can be done throughout the day, in which students have direct instruction related to phonics and word study components, understanding and applying their understanding of letters, sounds, and how words work. And it's really like kind of what ties in both that reading and writing. So if we're going to be able to do this focus on prefixes, for example, then we want to be able to see students after that instruction apply their understanding of prefixes to accurately read them while they're reading their text, or to apply them in their writing. So one last component of our literacy rich class.
There's the wheel.
So it's the idea that it's starting point.
Amber, we know how to put your presentation together better than you. You're welcome.
I appreciate it. And just the idea that teachers have the ability, through all of these components, to notice, to guide students, to support them, to teach them in reading and writing, and that when they're all combined, it's when we really get to that high impact teaching and learning and literacy rich and writing. So, this is the lasting impact that we've already seen based on what we've been doing.
So one of the things that we've had a really amazing opportunity to do over the last, even like the course of this year, is to really just focus and discuss with the teachers and the students on their literacy experiences and with Fontes and Pinel curriculum. We've been doing new teacher labs. We just finished one at Turl with our new kindergarten teachers, and we've been doing a lot of coaching within the classrooms and through our PLC's discussions and our planning. And there's this overarching trend related to increased student engagement and motivation for around literacy. Kara Carr might notice that the Fontes and Pinel resources, you'll see her quote up there, increased her students' level of engagement. They were always talking about authors and looking for titles and to match genres on where they have read. Like Liz had said, they're looking at those pictures of the books and making those connections within the story.
And it's just taking it to a different level. You know, these are some of the things we've done, but it's taking student understanding and engagement and motivation to a different level. I wanted to speak to what Alyssa Darby and I have been kind of dabbling in writing Fontes and Pinel mini lessons. It's been our focus throughout the year through coaching cycles. And like, what are our noticings? What are students able to do? What do we need to be focusing on next? And like the biggest takeaway is that her students love writing in a way that she's never seen before. And she said they will find any spare minute of the day to keep their writing alive, and their engagement and motivation and enthusiasm towards their writing is contagious. It spreads across the classroom when students can write on. So like, it's contagious. And the idea that they feel proud about the work that they're doing. They're taking this ownership and their reading and writing, their literacy.
So that's little Isabel up there. She's a first grader, and I've been working with that first grade class in writing, like Amber was saying too. And one of the biggest takeaways for myself is that they're not writing for a prompt, they're writing for a purpose. So it opens the door and gives them more opportunities. We feel less restricted, but they're still addressing the standards. They have more freedom in what they're writing, and so when she says writing's over, I literally hear like, oh, because they don't want to stop. Just the power of like that blank book, and there's so many opportunities. She was at the carpet, I'm kind of in the back, and I'm sitting at the chair, and the teacher's teaching, and she looks at me and she goes, yes, you already are. But again, like I held on to that now that was at the beginning of the school year, because I knew that that was just so powerful for everyone here. To hear that we're creating these experiences for them to not only like feel like a writer, but it's their identity to be readers and writers now. And I think if we continue with this positive environment we're creating, I think it would just have a lasting effect on that.
So we hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about literacy across our building, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments?
I have a question. I know that there are so many different ways that books are presented to kids, different media, on a Kindle, on a Chromebook, actually picking up a book and holding it. And I know that as an adult, I still like reading a book, but I do have a Kindle, and I do have the app on my phone, because I sometimes read in different places that maybe I shouldn't be whipping out a book. The phone makes it look a little bit easier. I'm just curious, are the younger kids, are they using the digital platforms to read more, or are we still books? I'm just curious.
I think it depends, right? So like, what's our purpose? What do we want them to have exposure to
Sure.
in that moment of time, in that moment of instruction? But yes, throughout the day, students have, at all grade levels, access to books in hand, as well as digital platforms. I think, we really had an intentional focus with your younger students. They need book handling skills
Sure.
and turning pages and being able to really look at print in a different way, that as they get older, there's more time on the digital platform, but that doesn't mean that they also don't have access to books and reads.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
And with this resource, the amount of books in classrooms is huge.
I don't think I'll be teaching for another. I don't think I'll be teaching for another 12 years, but I would love to have these students in college someday, because they hate writing, right? I mean, it's just It's like, oh, the worst thing in the world, even in accounting classes, if they get it. But I'm just excited that they're excited about reading and writing because it's so important in any career. Great job.
I just say that as a student in second grade myself who struggled, I struggled with reading. This just warms my heart because this just gives them such an avenue to grasp onto it so young and really enjoy the pure love of it. You know, I mean, I like to read now, but I did not like reading or writing as a kid. I hated it. It was miserable. So listening to the little...
Sounds like more of a parent.
Maybe.
I don't know.
One possible.
Maybe. I just think the little, it was a first grader, right, who said, you think I could be an author? I mean, that's fabulous. I love that. Like, already, it's just making them grow in their minds of what they can be even later. So, thank you guys for sharing with us today. Okay, anyone else? Okay, with that, we will move on in our agenda this evening. I don't see any public comment cards unless I missed anything. Okay, so we'll go into the presentations. I will turn it over to you, Superintendent Walker.
Thank you, Madam President. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Ms. Julia Peruski from Bart Mallow, our fantastic construction management firm and partner in this bond program. And Julia, as you recognize, has been attending, I think, every one of our board meetings since we kicked off, in the hopes that someone would ask her a question or something about the bond.
Don't jump to conclusions.
Okay. I like to sit there quietly, Matt, and not be about it. Okay? All right. I prefer that too during board meetings.
Don't volunteer for things.
But we have been meeting essentially twice a week, locally here with our team and with Julia's help and guidance, and then once with the kind of the full Bart Mallow French and Associates team, because we are hot and heavy into this bond program right now, and we felt that in March it was an appropriate time to provide the board and the community at large with a more detailed update of where we're at, and then looking forward to spring and summer projects that are going to impact a large portion of our district. So that has that requires a high engagement level from our central office leadership team. Look at someone like Michelle Bradford, who, assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction. What does she have to do with the bond? Well, when you're talking about all the summer programming that happens in individual buildings and possible delays, cancellations, moves, coordination of food service, transportation, athletics, all that stuff, Michelle's got to be really invested and engaged in this so kids don't miss opportunities and we don't bump into each other trying to share staff and make sure we get everything we need to get done by the time school starts again from up here in August, right? So a lot to coordinate, but I think we're in a really good position. On the heels of Julia's presentation this evening, we are going to post this PowerPoint on the bond update portion of the website, which we have moved. When you open LaPeerCommunitySchools.org now, you will see 2022 bond information as one of the headings. You don't have to go searching for it. We'll dump this PowerPoint in there as well as some more basic, easy to read and follow timelines that are linked not with the calendar year, but with the school year. Just basic nuts and bolts stuff like what's going to happen in the fall of 23 or 24, right? What's going to happen in the fall of 25. In addition to that, besides our bond, it's important to remind everyone watching and everyone here tonight that the grade level reconfiguration plan that is going into effect in the fall of 2025 is contingent on this work, right? So the conversion of our elementaries from E5 kindergarten to 4th grade facilities, Rowan Warner as a 5-6 building, Zemmer 7-8, and then high school at 9-12. All of this work that Julia is about to share with us, we're motivated to get it done on time because the fall of 25 is when that grade level reconfiguration is going to go on. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Julia and have her give us the details.
What?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Okay, so real quick, this is the bond timeline. It's kind of been shown since the beginning of the bond here. We are going to dive into kind of just the summer 2024 projects, and I'll go into detail with those. But as you can see, we've got the elementary multi-purpose additions, which construction is ongoing with that. You have the elementary HVAC and then the high school additions that are showing the procurement phase, but the high school additions is actually getting kicked off now, and then those are going to be the key projects, and the bus garage paving. Those are the key projects that we touch on. So next slide. Okay, so what is coming? So we have the high school gym addition, which will be the science lab addition, the multi-purpose addition, and then the addition onto the existing weight room. Then you have the multi-purpose additions, which are at Murphy, Turl, and Schickler that have the gym additions. You have the bus garage, which we are starting at June 10th, and then you have the elementary HVAC work. And I'm going to dive into detail each one of these projects and let you know exactly what's happening in each one, what to kind of expect, and kind of walk you through what we have to do to get this done on time. And then real quick, with these 4 projects alone, you were looking at roughly $18.5 million worth of work that needs to be put in place. And of that, 7.9 of it needs to be completed prior to school starting in the 24-25 school year. So there is a lot to be done in the summer, and this, looking at the bond as a whole, this is the busiest summer that we're going to have in the complete bond. So a lot of moving parts and a lot of communication that we need to have. Starting at the high school, if anyone's been over there recently, the temp fence started getting installed. There are a few tweaks that they're going to have to come back and do, but the construction fence is up. This is going to be the logistics plan where you can see at the top, we're going to have our construction entrance where we'll bring in deliveries. The orange kind of shows where, the orange dotted shows where our construction fence is. You have blue, that is our construction road, and then the green areas are showing where the work's going to be. So you have the science lab additions, and then you have the multi-purpose space and the weight room addition next to each other. And then we have some areas for parking and material staging. Please note that the construction fence will be up until construction is complete for that 25-26 school year. We cannot have any students, any non-construction workers in this area. We will be plastering it with signs everywhere so everyone knows that. There will be some signs that kind of go in the school as well, saying that this is egress only door now, as we kind of work through those logistics. And then civil equipment will be delivered later this week. Moving to the interior of the school, so the orange here highlights the 2 science labs that we are going to be working on during summer of 2024. So as you can see on the list, in green there is kind of a rough of what's happening in those areas. We're actually having a meeting with the high school staff tomorrow that will go kind of more in detail of everything that's going on. We'll have some lockers removed. We're going to have fire suppression work that will be going on throughout the building. We'll be demoing some cabinets, installing new door frames, new flooring, kind of tying everything in together. And this work is included with the $7.9 million of work that will be completed prior to the 24-25 school year start date. Next slide. Okay, so the multi-purpose gym additions. So that is at Schickler, Murphy, and Turl. So as we all kind of know, those got kicked off in fall of 2023, and then we're going to be restarting construction here shortly. We have a kickoff meeting, again with the contractor scheduled for next Friday, just to kind of get everybody back in the mind frame of construction starting with the winter break. Some new milestone project, or key milestones for this that will be happening is we're going to be getting the 2 courses of block that will go around the building, and then we're going to be pouring that floor. And we anticipate that happening about mid-April, getting that floor poured, and then we'll have masonry consistently going, and then block. So there's going to be a lot going on in those. And then the next 3 slides are going to kind of be renditions. I've kind of gone through in past board meetings kind of the layout, what the exterior is going to look like. This time I kind of wanted to highlight details of what the insides are going to look like on those. Each gym addition are going to be very similar to each other. So here you can see the corridor that will go from the existing building into the new gym addition. So that will be in LVT flooring, which will be the pattern shown there with the blue, the gray, and the green. And then we will have walk-off carpet by that exterior door. That way it can collect salt or dirt or snow or anything from anyone entering those doors. Next slide. And then this is the inside of the actual gym. So you can see those lightning bolts up top. Those are actually acoustical panels that will help with the sound there. And that will be on the long wall. And then same thing, you have the other acoustical panels that will be on the two short walls. You have the gym wall pads that will follow the color scheme that is around that gym layout right there. And then the actual flooring for the gym is a rubber sports flooring, and it's actually like tiles instead of a rollout, and it will look like that, where it will look like it's a gym floor, but it's not that extra padding for the young kids. Next slide. And then the bathroom. So each edition will have a single bathroom. Probably one of my favorite parts of the edition, just because as you can see there, we kind of have the chipboard or the drywall up top, and then we have that meet the ceramic tile, so it kind of has that dripping effect for the kids. And then the floor will be epoxy, similar to what's shown there, so that will be a key part within that as well. So these gym additions have a tentative turnover date of October of 2024. Okay, so the elementary HVAC upgrades. So this project alone is roughly $5.7 million worth of mechanical and bathroom upgrades. For the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to kind of dive into mainly the HVAC side, because that is going to affect the buildings more than the bathrooms. We have started the bathroom project, so at Turl we've painted the walls and we've prepped, and we'll continue to try and get as much of that work done ahead of time before summer hits to alleviate some of the stress. So here I wanted to kind of show mechanical is one of those categories that we don't exactly always know what we're looking at or what it's called. So the first picture there is a vertical unit ventilator. That's actually an existing one that's at Turl. So any unit ventilators that we are replacing in 4 elementary schools will be a vertical unit ventilator, similar to that one, but it will be upgraded. Over at Schickler, we are adding a boiler, so that's a picture of kind of what the boiler will look like. We are having rooftop units, either adding them or swapping out, and that's kind of an example of what it would look like. And then we are doing temperature controls throughout all 4 elementary schools in every single area, which is basically going in and adding a new controller to each piece of equipment, and then having graphics on the back side so that Brian can pull them up and he can see what each classroom is doing. So we're going to update all of that as well, and I've got an example of the thermostat shown there. Okay, so we'll start at Lynch. So I have a highlighted floor plan shown here. So the green area is where there is a existing rooftop unit, and we're replacing it with a brand new rooftop unit, kind of a one-for-one replacement. The teal or turquoise is kind of an existing unit ventilator being replaced with a vertical unit ventilator. And then the purplish area is, it currently has a unit ventilator or an air handling unit or an AHU, and it's being replaced with a rooftop unit. Next slide. So here's Murphy. Murphy's probably the least impacted when it comes to the HVAC projects than all the other elementary schools. As you can see, they're getting existing rooftop unit is being replaced with a new one, and then they've got the existing unit ventilator in the gym area, which if you've been in these gyms, usually it's the big rectangular piece of equipment that's hanging from the ceiling. So those will go away, and a rooftop unit will be placed there instead. Next slide. Okay, for Schickler. So as I said earlier, they are getting a new boiler. The reason for that is we are switching from, some of the units over there are ran with electric, and we are switching those over, so we have to add a new boiler for redundancy. Then you have the unit ventilators being replaced with verticals. So there are some classrooms over at Schickler that are the horizontal ones, so they're this way, and we're going to replace them with a stand-up, which will have some more construction tied to it, just for aesthetics and putting the classroom back together. And then you have existing unit ventilator and air handling unit with a new RTU. Also happening at Schickler, we are doing flooring in what used to be the open classroom wing. So all those classrooms will get brand new flooring, and there are some classrooms in here that have some ceiling tiles that definitely need some attention. So we're going to take care of that while we're there as well. So over at Turl, so that is swapping out existing VUVs for new VUVs, and that will be pretty much throughout the whole entire building. And then we're doing a 1-for-1 replacement for the rooftop units. So Bart Mallow's been working with the internal Lapeer team to kind of go through what this is all going to take. And to get all of this done with all the mechanical units, we are going to have to move out some classrooms, whether that is a complete move out where everything gets removed from the classroom, or we're going to shift it to one side so that we can do the construction on the other side. We are going to hire a moving company to do this so that it's all taken care of. And then we also are going to bring in kind of a final cleaning crew to kind of assist with getting these classrooms turned over. And then all of this work has to be completed for the 24-25 school year. So there's definitely a lot of moving parts to the HVAC upgrades project, but it is definitely something that is needed in each of the elementary schools. Moving on to the bus garage. So kind of overview of what we're doing here. So we are going to renovate the parking lot. We are going to do lights and bus heaters, and this is roughly about $1.9 million worth of work. So Bart Mallow has sat down with the bus garage to kind of figure out how we can assist to make sure that the buses still get maintenance, they still get their review every year, and then kind of what we're going to do with summer school and Turl continuing. So we've kind of worked out those details. As you can kind of see, we have a start date and kind of demo starting before school is out. Really, we're going to mobilize, and then we're going to stay to the south of that parking lot. That way we're out of the way. We can kind of get a little head start with the quick turnover that we have to have done before school starts. And finally, communication. So as kind of a recap, this is going to be our busiest year in the bond. We've got $7.9 million that need to be completed before school starts. And communication is going to be key. So we understand that when it comes to these buildings, that the principals are going to be the first line of defense. Their staff has a question about something, they're going to go to the principal before they go to anyone else. So it's our responsibility to make sure that everybody has the knowledge of what's going on, what to expect, and what's coming next. So Bart Mallow's been working with the internal Lapeer team, kind of how Matt said, to kind of work through a communication plan for all of the work that is going to go on this summer. So we've got a couple of things on there. We're working on some project bond boards that we're going to put in each building, kind of lay out everything construction-wise that's going to go on in each one of those buildings, and just focus on, instead of the big timeline that kind of goes through everything, you can walk into Turl and you can see this is the work that's going to be going on in Turl, and kind of a rough timeline of when all that is going to happen. We'll also have stuff for social media posts that can go out there so the community knows what's going on. And then we also are gonna set up internal meetings with the staff. So I know tomorrow, one of my superintendents, Wendy Fisher, is going out to the high school to kind of do a presentation and help that staff understand what to expect when it comes to construction. And then all principals with any work going on in their building during spring break should expect an email from Bart Mel that kind of lays out, hey, we're gonna be doing a proxy in your building, we're gonna be painting the bathrooms in your building during spring break. That way everyone is aware of what is going on. So with so much moving parts and everything, we ask everyone to be patient with us. There's definitely going to be frustrations. There's going to be things that have to get altered so that we can get all of this done. Feel free to reach out to the Bart Metal team. If you have any questions, concerns right away, you can just call one of us direct, whether it's myself, Wendy, Jake, or Blake. We'll make sure that our information is sent out. If you want to email any of us, make sure you include Brian so he knows what's going on. But we're all going to have to work together. We're all going to have to communicate. That way we can get all of this done. And honestly, in the blink of an eye, we're going to be in your building, and we're probably going to frustrate you, and then we're going to be gone, and it's going to be your building again, and it'll be the first day of school. So be patient with us.
Well, and just as, and I've mentioned this before, but, you know, the CFI demolition and front office renovation, that's a massive job to happen while school is going on. And, you know, I spend a lot of time in our buildings and over there with Shad and his team and the teachers, and you wouldn't know that half the building was falling down in the middle of the day. And I'm not exaggerating. The barrier walls, the hallway caps that they built, dust-proof, soundproof. Wendy came in the building, our superintendent, met with Shad on an almost daily basis. What do you need? How are things going? Any problems or concerns? And, you know, there's always going to be hiccups in projects of this size, but, you know, I was really concerned. It's hard to focus in school when you hear crashing and banging and collapsing, and literally we're knocking over walls, right? And heavy moving equipment and demolition equipment. So, you know, we've already got a really good first blush of Bart Mel's capacity to work with our buildings to make sure that learning is disrupted in a very minimal way. So we're very pleased with that. Now, that's not going to be universally true. There's going to be some times where there's some noise, but I think we've scaffolded this to make sure that a lot of that heavy work is when students are in session, right? And they're experts. But it's been, you know, as good as Bart Mel is and as solid as the reputation is, once they're on site doing work, that's where the rubber meets the road. And we've been very pleased with, you know, the limits to the disruption of the school day.
Other questions?
You may have said this, but I missed it. The bus garage, it looks like it's not supposed to start until
It's going to start in June.
right, but why on the calendar, why is it in 2026?
So we ended up pulling that portion of project, just the paving part ahead. So there's still some internal projects inside the bus garage that are still on the bond work list, but we ended up pulling that ahead just so that we could give them more space because we're expanding that parking lot.
Okay. Just like I said, just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it shows it should be in Creamer, right, design right now, I guess, yeah. So. And then, again, reiterating that the asphalt, concrete, for all buildings will not occur until all this is done.
Correct.
Because we don't want all these big machinery going over.
Yep, and that's kind of why we waited to do the Schickler driveways, because we have all this equipment coming in for the HVAC project, and either we wouldn't have been able to get the mechanical equipment in, or we would have tore up a brand new driveway, so that's why that one got pushed out.
Important to reiterate, I think.
And then life safety, as far as I heard you talk about travel distances and people in the high school.
Yes.
You figured out other means of egress out of that building?
Yeah, so we are making sure that we meet the requirement of 2 areas of egress in each space. So with that, we're going to adjust our temporary fence to make sure we have that area, and we're going to make sure that those areas are clearly labeled where the egress is for
Emergency only.
Yeah.
And Brian, you met with Doug today. I know I met, or yesterday, today, we're talking about redoing all the maps, fire plan, you know, and directional signs for staff and students as well, because it'll be new to them.
And obviously, state fire marshal as well.
I have a question. Did the mild winter help the timelines for all of the elementaries, the multi-purpose rooms? I was at Murphy yesterday and I saw a lot of progress, and I'm just curious, did that help with the planning as far as not having to be down very long because of our very mild winter so far?
It has helped, without having the frost in the ground. That's gonna help get these elementaries kicked off again. It's helped with the high school edition for sure, because we're gonna start doing civil work there, and we really weren't gonna start that for another probably a couple of months. April, May, we were gonna start that, and that's jumped ahead. So with that, it's helped. It's just kind of reminding the contractors, hey, spring's here. It's time to go. Like, it might be sooner than what their mind frame typically is for a typical year. Because,
Sure.
But
Does that put the project done any sooner?
potentially, it's just a matter of, you know, workforce, manpower, and kind of coordinating all the pieces together. We have some contractors that are on all the gym editions and on the high school editions, and we're gonna have to kind of, you know, balance that out and make sure we're really not fighting each other on these two projects to make sure that we keep to the schedules and get everything done on time.
Do you have any procurement issues?
So far not. My biggest concern, and the biggest concern typically, is mechanical equipment and Thermalnetics, who is the supplier. The vertical unit ventilators are going to be delivered and stored somewhere in Lapeer. They're going to find somewhere close to store all of those.
Jim's barn.
So we want to take those as fast as we can, so then it's procured and we can just start construction. So far it hasn't been too terrible.
Because that's our ESSER funding,
Part of it is.
right? So
correct.
we want to make sure we get that spent in time. Okay.
Yeah, and we do allow contractors to bill for stored materials. So once we, you know, they physically have the piece of equipment, they can technically bill for it with proper documentation, which will help with the ESSER requirements.
I see that the contractor's entrance at the high school is also the having parent drop off and pick up. So I think we just need to make sure we take that consideration, the timing, because that is not where I want to be at drop off
And
pick up time.
yeah, and we've told contractors, same thing with the elementaries, like we give them times, this is when your delivery trucks can come and when they can't. Sometimes truck drivers don't get the communication. I guess we had a delivery truck show up at Schickler and he was stuck in the parent.
Well, the good news is, the good news is we have plenty of room at Schickler for buses and cars and delivery trucks.
Yeah, so I don't think you'll be making that mistake again, so.
That's a one done.
That is definitely a very, you need to have patience.
Yes.
When you're visiting Schickler at that time.
Yes.
For sure. Yes.
They're gonna build a statue of you when Schickler Drive gets completed. Personally, I'd like it to be you with one hand on your hip and pointing towards the school. That's just one idea. You're gonna be the most popular person in the history of Lapeer.
Put it on the list.
It's
Julia's Drive.
So I know that you guys are in the midst of the auditorium design.
Yes.
When do you think that's something that we can see? Time frame on when you think we can be able to see your plan designs for the auditorium?
We do have a design kind of ready. We gave French the kind of go ahead on it. We're kind of splitting up the projects because, as you can see after the auditorium, we've got the high school edition. So we're focusing on everything inside the auditorium first, and then for Big Pack 6. So that's something that we could share out fairly quickly. We have that. I would just kind of double check with French that they have everything kind of finalized, but we've pretty much finalized the design for that.
that's,
Rendering.
We're pretty excited about sharing that. We think we've got some really nice
Yeah.
upgrades and expansion, and French and Martin have brought some really neat expertise in other agencies that that are specializing on design in particular. So we really like what we can do in the space, and we've involved like at every step our staff, right, to bring in the folks that are going to be utilizing the facility to get their input along the way. So I would say sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we have a drawing. I haven't seen any actual renditions of it, so I can get with French to see if they can maybe come up with some renditions, or even kind of similar to what I showed tonight for the gym editions. That way we can get a feel for what the finishes are going to look like.
Well, I'm ecstatic to see it, because I was there sitting, watching it play. The high school students did a fabulous job again this year, but I was sitting there thinking, ooh, what will this look like in the near future? So,
Yep, we'll work on getting those renditions for you.
perfect. Any other questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julia.
Okay, that concludes presentations for tonight. We'll go into our reports. We'll start with the policy committee. Dr. Novak, would you please share us the committee report?
Yes. So the policy committee met on February 23rd at 1 p.m. via Zoom. Committee members attending was myself, Jamie Holfert, and Craig Watson. Others attending was Matt Wandry, Kim Sieferle, and Mary Moss. The committee discussed the following administrative guidelines: AG 3130, assignment and transfer; AG 3131, reduction and retention of professional staff; AG 3139, staff discipline, which was new; and AG 3220, teacher performance evaluation process. Kim explained that we have been working to update these administrative guidelines in order to make them align with all of the new legislative updates, which took effect February 12, 2024. Until we bargain these items, these guidelines will be what guides our work in these important areas. As administrative guidelines, they do not require board action, but Kim has updated the entire board in a weekender. And our meeting adjourned at 1:22 p.m.
Any questions or comments? Thank you, Dr. Novak. We will go into the personnel committee. Mrs. McKenna, would you please share us the report?
Personnel committee met February 7th, 2024. Committee members were myself, April Labar, and Summer Putnam, also attending Matt Wandry, Kim Sieferle, and Mary Moss. The meeting was called to order at 6 p.m. We discussed the superintendent contract. The committee reviewed and discussed the 2024 through 2029 superintendent contract, and the meeting was adjourned at 6:22 p.m.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Thank you, Mrs. McKenna. That concludes our report section for tonight. We will head into our action items. So the first is a consent grouping, approval of minutes of February 7th, 2024 regular meeting, second reading and adoption of board policy, policy 5350, student welfare. Are there any consent groupings anyone wishes to be removed? Okay, I'm hearing none. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that the reading of the minutes and policies be waived and the consent agenda items be approved as presented. Support.
Okay, I have a motion and support. Ms. Holford? Aye. Mrs. LeVar?
Aye.
Mrs. McKenna?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Ms. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Next, we have appointment of legal counsel. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that Julie Nash of Nash Flanders Law be appointed local legal counsel for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2024.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion and a support. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Ms. Holford? Aye. Mrs. LeVar?
Aye.
Mrs. McKenna?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Novak?
No.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Okay, next we are gonna go into closed session. But first, Matt, we really are supposed to ask you if you would like to go into closed session to discuss your evaluation.
Can we go into closed session to discuss my evaluation, Madam President?
Yes. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion that the board move to closed session to discuss the superintendent evaluation.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion and a support. Ms. Hofer? Aye. Mrs. LeVar?
Aye.
Mrs. McCombs? Dr. Lawson?
Aye.
Mr. Lefka?
Aye.
Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Mrs. Connor says aye. Motion carries. And we will go into closed session.
Got your Bart Mallow hat on, don't you? Oh, I love it.
Representing.
Bought off with a hat. That's all it takes. Like, don't show me a video of you using the summer.
What was going on here? It's cool.
It was partying.
Did you hear a lot of
You
laughter?
guys just rolled a keg around. Wow.
Quick, I know that's like,
It was a party.
It is cooler.
Feels great.
Clearly I do tricks
Almost
that
lost
night.
you.
oh, he's in the video, it's okay. We're just.
Everybody ready?
Oh.
Okay, it is 9:19 and we are back in open session. So I'm going to go ahead and read the superintendent's summative evaluation summary. So for governance and board relations, the rating is a 3.66. Community relations rating is a 3.66. Staff relations, 3.71. Business and finance rating is a 3.6. Instructional leadership is a rating of 3.7. Overall professional practice is a rating of 3.67. Student growth is a rating of 3. Progress toward district-wide goals is a rating of 3. Overall final rating is a rating of 3.33, which is labeled as effective. Okay? Now with that, we will go back to our action items. And get my papers here organized. The first one is approval of the superintendent evaluation.
I'll make a motion that the board adopt the final resolution of the superintendent's year-end evaluation.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Ms. Hofer? Aye. Mrs. LeBar?
Aye.
Mrs. McKenna?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mr. Lepka?
Aye.
Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Ms. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Then we have the superintendent contract.
So I'll make a motion that superintendent contract be approved as presented.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion and a support. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Ms. Hofer? Aye. Mrs. LeBar?
Aye.
Mrs. McKenna?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mr. Lepka?
Aye.
Dr. Novak?
No.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Okay, that concludes our action items for tonight. I will open it up to any board member communications.
I had the privilege last week of going with the 7th graders in band to U of M Flint, where they received all ones on their performance, which is the best. And it was a great opportunity to see so many different kids and their excitement at seeing the campus and being there and saying, oh, I might be in college here in 5 or 6 years. And it was a beautiful day, and it was really nice to just be there and to walk around campus, and it was awesome. And also the entire band, I believe, the symphony, wind ensemble, 8th grade, I mean, everybody got ones this year. I mean, across the board, and it's just such a wonderful testament to our wonderful teachers, Mr. Hunt, Mrs. Fenner, Miss Johnson, all of our band instructors and our arts program. I just think it's phenomenal, and I just want to really thank them for just being so passionate and showing that with the kids. I mean, to get an all-1 rating is not easy. There were we were there when Davison was there. There were many other school districts that were there at that same time, and not all of them got ones. There were a lot of 2s, 3s. It was an exceptional performance, by the kids, and then the sight reading. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. I mean, to be given a piece of music and you have less than 5 minutes to go over the entire piece and to decide, okay, you can't play your instruments, but they did like a humming or they clapped and they did all of these different things. Okay, you're gonna do this. And to see that, there were so many parents that were there too as well. And it was just so awesome to see so many parents supporting their kids. I mean, not all of them were the wonderful chaperones like I was that got to do the bus ride. But there were so many people in the audience that were there, and it was so nice to see such wonderful support for our band students, because as we all know, everybody likes to go to sports. Not everybody comes to the band, but there was so much support for the band kids, and I just really want to do a thank you to our wonderful band and arts program. They're just phenomenal. And also, I want to remind everybody, and I mean, we got this wonderful letter from Schickler in the book about March's Reading Month. I hope that everybody takes the opportunity to go read to a classroom if they have 15 minutes. That's all that I was slated for. And of course, I went a little bit over. Nothing to do with the fact that they were second graders just coming back from lunch and they were crazy. But I was able to read 2 stories to them, and it was just so great to connect with these little kids and just to share the excitement of reading. And then I also got the opportunity to speak to 4th graders about local government and our role as Board of Education, and they were all so, they thought it was pretty cool that we were Mr. Wandry's boss, all 7 of us. They got a kick out of that.
I think it's great too.
There was some great conversations that the kids had. Not any one of the kids could list all of the 10 buildings that we encompassed, and explaining to them our role as Board of Education and what we do, and how it's not just we go to 1 meeting a month and call it good. It's the committees, it's the homework. When I told them that we had homework, they were like, really? You've got homework? Oh yeah, every Friday. Every Friday we have homework. We get, you know, the board packets, we get, you know, the communications, the weekenders from all of the different COLT members, from Mary. It was a wonderful 2.5 hours that I was able to spend at Murphy yesterday.
Awesome.
Well, the 15 minutes was at one classroom, and that went to 35 minutes. And then it was another 2 hours in the 4th grade classroom.
I told you she's never been shy, didn't
Yeah, I wasn't shy, but it was great because I had 60 kids in that 4th grade classroom that were I mean, there was a lot of engagement. I wrote on the whiteboard. I think I took a picture and sent it to our board. Like, what do they think our job was? And there was some really cute feedback from these kids who thought that that we helped Mr. Wandry with the lunch count, that we helped Mr. Wandry make good decisions, that we helped explain decisions that Mr. Wandry made, and just, it was great.
Because it requires an entire team of people to explain.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it was just, it was refreshing. It reminds you, it reminds me why I wanted to do this role in the first place. To help the community, to be involved, and it's all about the kids. And if you guys have 15 minutes, I challenge you guys to go read to a classroom. And if you can't, you can be a mystery reader. So Mr. Downey, the previous principal at Murphy, was the first the first victim, I guess, of their mystery reader, where he read to the class, and they put it on all of their tablets, and they had it on the smart boards, and he wore a bag over his head and read a whole story. And they invited people to be part of this mystery reader, and I said, well, I'm not putting a bag over my head. And they said, well, you can dress up in costume, you can do all different kinds of things. So if you guys are interested in doing that way, all you have to do is video yourself in a silly costume that they can't see who you are. Send it over to Murphy. or any of the elementary buildings that welcome that. It was so much fun, and again, reminded me why I wanted to do this, and I think it was just a great refresher course, and I had a great time, and kudos to Mrs. Weber over there at Murphy and all of the staff. It was just very awesome, very awesome. Great.
I just want to shout out, welcome to Matt, to the chaos. We're glad you're jumping both feet in, and glad that we can help add more to your plate.
Go for it. Working right now.
Yeah, that's right. So we appreciate it and welcome. So
perfect. Thank you.
I just want to make sure we thank the presenting school tonight, Turtle. They did a good job. Always like to listen to them. So.
Well, again, I want to thank Turtle. I really do love the fact that they are building such good readers and writers. That's important. I, too, got to do a spelling bee at Sugar Elementary, and what I was impressed with was the large number of participants. Like, we literally started at 1:30, and we were just finishing as the buses were pulling up. So we went through a lot of rounds, and it was amazing. Those kids, I mean, it was hard to say no, but when they spelled it wrong, but I managed.
you had a buzzer.
And then the last quick is just the play. I mean, again, the play was absolutely phenomenal. Those kids worked so hard for months, and they put on 5 shows over their long break weekends. That's their break, is putting on the show. And of course, a little special piece for me, and I'm just so glad the drama program has really invited my nephew, and he had a really important role to him, and it was amazing, and I'm just really super thankful that as a senior, he decided to go out and try this activity, and I think he really loved it. And he did such a great job, and everyone was so welcoming. So I just appreciate everybody and all their hard work. And I know it was hard for him, but
he's living his best life here.
Living his best life, really. So I really just want to appreciate that. With that, I'll turn it over to you, Superintendent.
Thank you much. Don't want to be redundant, but I do want to thank Julia, and her presentation was fabulous. And as it relates to communication, just as a reminder, we're going to send out a staff-wide email tomorrow with some of the details, attach the PowerPoint, and just continue to pump that information to the community. Now, Matt was already introduced and welcomed by Craig, but we have really struggled in the office having 2 Matts.
Oh, I know where this is going.
We have gone from, he's young Matt, I'm old Matt, number 1, number 2, big, little, Matt, Matthew. But we came to find out that there's a really interesting Lapeer connection to a nickname that Mr. McKinder was given in his youth. His nickname, baseball, right, as a kid, was Big Mac. Now, he grew up in Ferndale, and one of our high school teachers, her husband, was a teacher and longtime administrator in Ferndale, and that was the gentleman that gave Matt that nickname. The husband of a current Lapeer teacher. So, I submit for the record.
Big Mac it is.
I am Matt, and that is Big Mac. And so
Very
we'll be done,
nice.
right?
Yeah.
Can we decree something? Can we decree? We have the power to decree?
Don't think we have decree power, but I second the Big Mac.
And so it is written. Julia, Big Mac, we got the nicknames. Julia, do you have more fun in any other district than you do here? Be honest. See?
Do you go to any other district?
This is the only school district I get called Julie Gulia.
Okay, so you're welcome.
Here she comes back.
With that, I yield back your remaining balance of my time, Madam President.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Hofer, Mrs. LeBar.
Aye.
Mrs. McKenna. Dr. Watson. Mr.
Aye.
Lipa. Dr. Novak. I'm sorry. Long night.
Mr. Lip.